I will never be Prokofiev. I'll never be Shostakovich. I'll never be Stravinsky. I'll never be great.
As a composer, I have a lot of gear. I'm going to introduce you to my acoustic instruments. We're going to talk about instrumentation. We're going to talk about orchestration. We're going to talk about melody. We're going to talk about what makes a classical film score and what makes a minimalist contemporary film score and why they both work. I'm Danny Elfman, and this is my masterclass.
Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. It's Lewis here. Today what we're going to be talking about is the Danny Elfman Teaches Music for Film Masterclass. We're going to do a complete masterclass review for you. We're going to understand, is it worth it for you? Should you invest in something like this as a musician? And let me stop everyone right now really quickly. If you are not a musician, you probably don't want to actually look into this masterclass. If you're not interested in music, if you're not interested in anything like that, I'm telling you right now, stay away from this masterclass. It is very informative and it's made for musicians and only musicians, in my opinion. If you're looking at getting into film producing or you're a director and want to understand more about film, it's fine for you, but really this is built for the musician at heart. You can see this guy's absolutely intense. There's not a lot of entertainment value behind this. It's more so the technicalities, how you can really begin your journey, themes, storytelling. There is a lot that's involved in this, especially around scores and producing content within the framework of video. There's a reason why my start was like that, because Danny Elfman has actually taught me a lot of things regarding how I can really evoke emotion. So if you go back to the start of this video, you're going to hear some really interesting bass that's happening, and there's a reason for that. And I have certain imagery in there that makes him look actually pretty scary. So what we're going to do is do a complete overview for you. We're going to jump into the masterclass itself as though you've just invested in it. And as always, there's a link in the description which you can take advantage of. The price is actually unknown right now. The reason I say this is it's because it's based on your region. So in Australia, where I'm from, g'day mate, I have a particular price. That's my price. But in America or Europe, you're going to see different prices. So first and foremost, let me know what price you see once you click that link, because what they've actually done as well is they've removed the single masterclass. If you look at any of my previous videos, you'll see that there's always like a single masterclass and all access. In this case, they're really focusing on the all access. They're trying to go down this Netflix type of environment where you have access to all the content and you just pay whatever you pay. So that's a really interesting approach that they're doing. And you know what? They may change that in the future. They may revert it. You know, they're always testing and figuring stuff out. And there will be a timestamp that should show up around which will tell you exactly when the masterclass review, where I go into the lesson plan. So yeah, if you want to just skip to that time, go for it. That'll be the masterclass review lesson plan for you. So if you want to skip all this stuff and you already know it, jump right into that timestamp that you see so you can dive right into the lesson plan with me, and that's going to be fun. The other big news with masterclass really quickly is they were just invested in by some major firm and they were given $100 million as a result of how successful they've been. So the result of that is it's really good for yourself because it means they're going to be producing a lot more content by insanely prominent figures in our world. Once you get $100 million injection, that's not a small deal, right? That's 1/10 of $1 billion when you think about it. So it's a massive deal. You know, they are official. They are big players in the world of education right now. So congratulations to Masterclass for getting that $100 million.
He did it! The son of a bitch did it! All right!
There's going to be a ton of content coming out, so it's going to be amazing. So either way, let's go into the Danny Elfman Masterclass review and figure out, is it worth it for you? So if we scroll down the masterclass itself, you'll see that this is the front facing page. This is the page you see when you click my link in the description, and you'll see instantly that you can explore other entertainers. Now, what I don't get and what they haven't done here is Hans Zimmer should actually be the first one there, but they've made you scroll to the right a bit. Not cool, guys. You know that Hans Zimmer and this guy are like really connected, and I'm actually going to have a Hans Zimmer versus Danny Elfman Masterclass as well. So make sure you subscribe for that. That's going to be a big video. These two are absolute big players in this world. So I can't wait to make that video for you guys. And really, it's just a bit of an introduction about what you get. MasterClass works on all your devices, as you know, Apple TV, Amazon, whatever, all your TVs, your MacBooks, your app tablets. If you're traveling to work, which you're probably not during these times, to be fair, you're probably working from home. If you're running two computers, you can have a Masterclass on the right, and then you can have your work in the middle as well, which is pretty cool. Of course, this is a subscription-based model. They're really pushing the subscription-based model, the Netflix model, so that's interesting. Endless education. They're releasing content every month at this point in time. I think they even released two new masterclasses last month. So, and especially with this $100 million injection that they just got, that you're going to see that go insane at this point in time, to be fair. So this masterclass gets more value over time, and I don't know if they're actually going to increase the price of the month-on-month masterclass, to be fair with you, because in my mind, if they're constantly releasing and investing in all this talent, like the Martin Scorsese's, or they're investing in Danny Elfman or Usher or any of these big guys that are, really big famous stars and really good at their craft, that's going to add up, right? So that's going to be interesting to see what happens to the price. So, in my opinion, lock it in as fast as you can. And of course, unlimited downloads, which I'm going to show you very soon. And here are some prominent questions that if you want answered, I can answer them for you in the description below. But also go into the MasterClass website, and figure out what is MasterClass, what is included in the MasterClass membership, where can I watch MasterClass, which classes are right for me. And there are some payment questions as well. How much does MasterClass cost? How does the 30-day guarantee? I don't know if it's actually up there when it tells you about the 30-day guarantee. It used to be, at least. Obviously, they've changed it. To be fair with you, when you click my link, it's going to probably be a completely different landing page or website that you visit, because they're always trying to figure out what works. So let's jump into the Danny Elfman Masterclass right now. So this is exactly what you see once you invest in the All Access Masterclass. I'm going to start from the top and then work my way all the way down to the bottom, so you know exactly what you're getting and you're comfortable once you're really there, and really just provide you exactly what you get, to be fair. Because to be fair, I would like to see a lot more information regarding what's in there. So let's jump into it right now. So of course you have the search function. That's pretty boring, but the point is, what the search function does. You can look at instructors, classes, topics. So if you want to look up like violin, for example, you will see something regarding violin. So let's click on categories. These are all the other masterclasses that MasterClass produce when it comes to music and entertainment. You have the Hans Zimmer Masterclass, which I actually have a review on the top right of your screen right now. Check that out. It's pretty good. You have Perlman, who teaches the violin, and obviously this guy is one of the best, to be fair with you. So that's really good categories. Then you have community. Community is really, really good. Now, I'm actually going to take you into it right now really quickly, just to show you how good it actually is. But in a nutshell, you have the networking component, so you can network with other students, very powerful. You have contests. They often do contests, and there's prizes. For example, there was like a little book giveaway, which was cool, and I actually got one of the books, which was fun. There are student highlights. You have students that are encouraged to create and then present to the MasterClass community. So you're actually investing in a community, not just a MasterClass by Danny Elfman or anything like that. You're investing in a group of people, which is really cool. So let me show you what it looks like. I'm not going to obviously go into these because, that's not fair for all the other community members that invest in this masterclass. But the point is, you have about the community, news and announcements, which goes off quite often, MasterClass Live, which is a really new thing that they've just released. You can network with other students, learning from home together, which is really cool. And of course, some of the other things. I'm not going to take you into any more of this, but you see where you're going here, like culinary arts. If you want to cook with others and figure out new recipes together, that's where you go. So it's really good. You have quick lists, which essentially don't really mean too much, to be fair with you. If you want to create like a playlist as though you're on YouTube or something like that, where you want to pull lessons from Danny Elfman or Hans Zimmer or another music masterclass, go for it. You can do it and just join them all together into like one big masterclass if you want to do that. I personally have never used quick lists. I don't see the point. You can see my classes. So my classes really apply to those that have invested in the single masterclass. That's no longer available. So if you have my classes, it's sort of a redundant button because only All Access is available, aka all the classes. So I guess that's really for the old school accounts like mine. And then of course you have the account. And the only relevant one here is really if you want to browse a trailer or if you want to read like articles and blogs that they have. And of course, gifting masterclass to your loved ones for like Christmas, birthdays, which is a pretty good gift, to be fair with you. And that's really just the menu. Now, before I click on the big red button that is start lesson, I'm going to just show you the MasterClass workbook. Now, MasterClass puts a lot of effort into their workbooks. I've just downloaded it. It's down here. I'm going to open it up, but I'm not going to show you everything because it's not fair. Now, this workbook is 72 pages long, which really dives into the details of the lessons itself. So you watch the lesson and then you read the supplementary workbook, which has a lot more information. And of course, he's basically written this with MasterClass. So I'm just going to show you the first page of the workbook, which is the introduction. If you want to pause this video right now, go for it. But you can just see a bit of an introduction of who he is. Danny, 30 years experience in this industry. history. He's worked on some of the biggest films in the world. You know, we're talking Pee-wee's Big Adventure. You know, who doesn't love that? He scored over 100 films, Big Fish, Men in Black, enough said, right? Edward Scissorhands, the classic Batman, Alice in Wonderland, Silver Lining Playbook, American Hustle. You know, this guy definitely knows what he's doing in this space. And The Night Before Christmas, I mean, that's one of the coolest things in the world, in my opinion. But either way, if you want to read that, pause the video or slow it down, whatever you want, and then you can read that. But I'm not going to show you anymore. That's not cool. So let's jump into the actual course itself right now. So lesson 1 begins with the introduction. You meet your instructor, 4-time Oscar-nominated composer Danny Elfman, and he welcomes you to his world. Now, let's go over how the class works. Really, you have the lesson video, which of course only runs in this case for 2 minutes, which is just an introduction. It's not supposed to be too much. And then of course you have the community discussion. So here we have this person. You know, I've never read this comment, to be fair. It's the latest comment. So excited to start this masterclass. I've been a fan of Elfman's music since forever, apparently. I love Tim Burton. Love the quote, "I plan nothing exciting, thanks." So you can see he really pumps people up in that 2 minutes, which is fun. Lesson 2 really goes into his beginnings, starting from an early year. So you go all the way back down to his teens, and you see how he grew up and what he was all about. So Danny wasn't a classically trained musician before becoming a film composer, and he doesn't think you need to be either. He doesn't really follow the traditional academia context of music. He really goes beyond that. So if you're someone that is really embedded in the academic world and you don't really have exposure to real world musicians in this context, and you only have exposure to like your teachers that are in the academia world, he shares his unexpected journey from directing his brother's band all the way to becoming a film producer on Pee Wee Herman, which is his big break, if you will. Lesson 3 goes into starting the score. Now, this is jumping right in. You're a musician. You know what you're doing already. Let's jump into it. So the first day on the job as a film composer is the spotting session, and understanding what the spotting session is. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't even know what a spotting session is. He's going to teach you this, which is cool, where it's critical to listen to your director and understand what exactly he wants to do. So Danny explains how to map out your score and determine the length, and he does that by minutes and budget, which is really interesting, and really just to overcome traditional music. You must first be a student of cinema and film scores. Danny highlights how various scores throughout film history have elevated the director's vision as well as influenced his own work. So he looks at all of the old school greats, you know, his influences, Bernard Herrmann, storytelling through music, the importance of actually loving film and that art as a whole, which is cool. Lesson 5, he talks about melodies and themes. So this is a theme or a melody can be everything and nothing at all. It can come easily or take a lot of time. He talks about how he feels really under pressure sometimes, where he has 2 weeks to really build out a score and how that pressure really drives him. He uses examples for some of the most well-known scores. Danny Elfman teaches you how to create and identify themes and melodies for your film score. Now, this is really cool because he goes into The Simpsons and how he built that score. By the way, he made The Simpsons score, just so you know. Everyone knows that score, aka everyone has actually been influenced by Danny in some form or another. Themes and melodies, the fact that he goes into The Simpsons and understands the dynamics of that, you know, is actually pretty complicated, to be fair. So that's pretty cool. In my opinion, that's one of the most valuable lessons in this entire masterclass, to be fair with you. I love themes and I love melodies and creating around that. And you probably would have already felt a theme at the start of this masterclass review.
I will never be Prokofiev. I'll never be Shostakovich. I'll never be Stravinsky. I'll never be great.
Where I had that really dark, sort of scary, and I actually made him to look like a scary character through music and imagery. That this masterclass has actually taught me that to begin with. So I love that. Lesson 6 talks about real-time listening, a simple plan. So while listening to the score he wrote for A Simple Plan, Danny walks you through how he crafted it and explains his choices. Now, not every day do you get an opportunity to learn exactly from the producer themselves on the content or art that they've actually produced. And you know what's really cool about this? He actually has a little bit more time to reflect on this. And what's even more impactful here is you see a seasoned Danny Elfman looking at a Danny Elfman from the past, which, to be fair, is invaluable to really see that. Lesson 7 talks about instrumentation. There is no right or wrong instrument to convey a certain emotion. Danny shows you ways you can build tone, energy, and movement through your choices in instrumentation, as well as how to treat, prepare, and play your instruments. So he looks at metal versus wood, digital versus live recordings, and why they are so unique in a sense. That's why live recordings are such a big deal in the world of music, because live is so unique, whereas digital, you know, you want to get it perfect, and perfect sometimes just isn't always the best, to be fair. And of course, instrumental music, and he uses the marimba here, evidently, which is his go-to instrument, which actually comes from his time in Africa when he was younger. So, you know, you learn that when you go to the history. So it's cool to see how all of those influences from his past travels have influenced who he's become today. Lesson 8 talks about Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. Amazing film. You want to check that out. His mindset when he went into that. Lesson 9 is really his workflow. So this is a really good lesson for those that actually don't know how to structure their day and have a workflow in place when they have projects. So this is it, right? So when you have a disorganized mind like Danny's, studio and project organizations are key to career success. So he shares his process for organizing his studio, how he chooses his software, really big deal by the way, and the big board that basically helps him keep track of his output. Now that's where he goes into like his minutes, the time remaining that he needs to produce, but he tries to produce roughly a minute to 2 minutes every single day, and it's sort of like a countdown timer as opposed to a count up. So for example, a director will say, I need 60 minutes of XYZ or whatever it is, and what he'll do is try and get a minute or 2 minutes out every day of produced quality content for that film. So you see his workflow, but you also see him apply it to the real world, which is literally on the border of you being mentored by Danny Elfman himself, which of course is a big deal in the world of building your life. Lesson 10 is creating your template. So identifying the tone of the film can dictate the sounds that make up your template. Before you really start to build your craft or design the art, if you will, Danny walks you through how he creates his template on the software that he uses. So you see it row by row, you see all of the assets he starts off with, all the drums, all the kicks, everything that he begins with, all the hi-hats, everything. And he really breaks all that down for you, and you can use that yourself for your own templates. This creating your template, in my opinion, is again, like it's definitely up there with 5 themes and melodies when it comes to really preparing to create your music. This is the first thing you really need to do, is build that template. And he shows you how to do that. And the workbook gives you a lot of information as well. And you can already see the comment here. Danny is so organized. I often get tripped up in my creative process when I have to stop and create new sounds to find something I want. And that's what he does. He gets all his sounds collected in a certain area and then he builds. Lesson 11, insecurity and instincts. Now, a lot of musicians and anyone that actually creates there's always a sense of doubt. There's always a sense of insecurity. And he talks about how to manage that doubt and move forward. He opens up his vulnerabilities, which doesn't happen often, especially with A players like this, how he overcomes them and how he sharpened his instincts to make better career decisions. And as a musician, this is something you want to look at, especially if you want to build music into your career. Lesson 12 is all about writing feature scores. To map the score, you need to figure out the tone identity, talking to your directors, figuring out what his vision is. And straight away, you see the theme for Batman, and everyone loves that theme, to be fair with you. If you've watched the original Batman, that was such a good film. That theme is embedded in so many 90s kids' brains. It's unbelievable. Capturing the tone, finding the tone, identifying key moments within the film, scoring the difference between live action and animation, and working through rough cuts. Really amazing lesson 12. And this is where it starts to really pick up. So changing your approach, aka Milk, using Milk as a case study. Amazing piece of art in my opinion. Danny explores how a literal approach to scoring for a script isn't necessarily the right decision, and how improvisation can often be the missing piece of the puzzle. And he really dives into the idea that as much as music is an art, it's also a craft in the context of filmmaking. And there is a process there, and there is an actual approach to building things out. And sometimes structure isn't everything, and improvisation is a big deal. So lesson 13 is really going to get you out of that mindset of being in a bubble and understanding, be a bit more free in the context of your work. Lesson 14, chasing a moving edit. Now, composing to an evolving film is a challenge, of course. Directors are always changing. I mean, imagine you're composing for a piece of video or whatever it is, and the director decides to change how things are done. You got to go back to the drawing board to a certain extent. You got to edit the tempo, the rhythm. Danny explains how to find the editor's tempo and rhythm, and how to sync your music to the picture itself that's on the screen. Finding the editor's rhythm, process getting in and out of an idea, and syncing to the photos are the core topics in this lesson. Lesson 15 is the devil's in the details. So Danny loves the process of detailing things. Yeah, this is like post-editing at this point in time. He shows a scene with Lawrence of Arabia to illustrate how sound design and detailing can elevate your score. So what's really cool about this lesson in particular is you've seen a very plain piece of art, which is still great, and then you see what additional details he adds to this, so the additional flavor, if you will, to this piece, and how much more value it brings to it in his eyes. Lesson 16, real-time listening. So Danny listens to the score he made for The Unknown Known, and how creating the theme for this villain in particular was definitely not something that will just easily come to mind. So you talk about a very unique case in this one where the answer is sometimes just not obvious. This villain has a lot of depth to it as well. And Danny's trying to find a really good theme to match this character. Lesson 17 19 is on failure. Now, failure is everywhere, and we all know that. Every seasoned composer like Danny faces failure. To be fair, for him to get into this position, to begin with, he's failed a lot of times, and he's obviously picked himself up and not quit as a result of being where he is. He opens up about his temporary falling out with Tim Burton. Danny shows how to overcome your ego and, persevere in the face of failure. So this is a really good story that I think you're going to learn from, especially when you have conflict with others in your industry and how to overcome them. Because at the end of the day, the art is what matters. Lesson 18 is all about working with directors. Collaboration with directors is a subtle art form that Danny has cultivated for over 35 years. He offers advice on how to talk to your director, present your ideas at playbacks, and receive feedback as well. So it's like actually going into the office with him and figuring out, okay, how does he communicate to his directors? What is he saying? What questions is he asking? How are they going to build a relationship together in order to build the best product possible? Lesson 19 is really crossing the line. Now, there is a line between influence, homage, and plagiarism. Now, Danny illustrates how the line is drawn. Now, you don't want to tell deadmau5 this because that'd be quite funny. And I have a video on the difference between Armin van Buuren and deadmau5, which you probably want to check out if you're just interested in how the EDM world works and how every artist has various different opinions on this. So it's quite funny to see Danny's in this case. This guy is one of the best on the MasterClass platform, in my opinion at least. So when you have overstepped the boundaries and how to rise above and maintain originality. So what does that mean? So the central themes in this video are context is everything and what is originality in the context of film producing. Lesson 20. Now this video doesn't go for too long. It only goes for 6 minutes and 30 seconds, but this is advice for new composers that are just beginning. And that's why it's okay for new composers. Like, you need to be in the world of music to appreciate what this masterclass is about. But as a composer with no classical training, Danny offers a different perspective on getting into the business. I said this earlier as well. He encourages you to find what makes you unique, pursue what you do best, and promote the aspects of yourself to be heard. Danny Elfman in his masterclass has done this multiple times, and you see him how he navigated his strength in the context of music and went all in on that strength. So you can see this in practice by this absolute beast that is a musician. And then 21 is the closing, and he talks about how he's very thankful for you to actually go through this masterclass with him, and how he hopefully has lit a spark in the way you do work and how you've learned from his mistakes. Very motivational, and ultimately you're getting practical skills as a result of doing this masterclass by someone that has done it in the real world. You're getting someone that has done it in the real world, which is, to be honest, everything. And as you can see, the last comment, the last testimonial, of course, I haven't seen this one. This is a new one for me. Thank you, Danny. Excellent masterclass. You have the endorsements there. You have the testimonials. And that is the Danny Elfman masterclass review for you. Is it worth it for you? Yes and no. Yes, if you're a musician and want to make this thing your career, absolutely. If you're not a musician and you don't know anything about the world of music, don't get it, to be fair with you. You're not going to understand a lot of what he's saying. Maybe advice to new composers is good for you, but if you're not a musician, you probably don't want to take this masterclass. You probably want to look at another masterclass. I have a link in the description below. Let me know the price you see as a result of clicking that, and let me know as well as if you see a different landing page, because it's pretty cool to hear about different landing pages that people see. Landing page is just this page that you see that you're landing on. And that's the masterclass. I've taken you through literally every single aspect of it, as much as I can really show you within reason and being respectful to all the other musicians that invest in this. There is a community here. You will be with like-minded people once you invest in something like this. Otherwise, everyone, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and of course, subscribe for the Danny Elfman versus Hans Zimmer masterclass review, which is coming up when it comes up. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Lewis P, out.